Hi, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show some example Python functions. File to lines writes a list of strings to a file, one string per line. Lines to file does the opposite. It reads a file and returns a list of strings. File name reads a string and returns everything past the last backslash or forward slash. The backslash or forward slash is set by os.set. That's a separator, and it's determined by the operating system. String to bool does what it sounds like, and you might assume that you can just use a cast, but when a character is cast to an integer, it's usually not equal to 0, which corresponds to false. So casting a string to a bool will almost always return true, and I have a script that demonstrates that. So I have a string that's set to false, and when you cast it to a bool, it returns true. Using the function, it works as expected. Casting a string to a tuple also doesn't work like you might hope. So the string to tuple function strips out the parentheses and the commas, and then puts it back together into a tuple. So here's a string that gets cast to a tuple, and it puts each character into a new element. Using the function, it works normally. String list to tuple list is the same thing as string to tuple, except with a list of strings. Tuple list to string is the same, except backwards. Sort demi sorts a list according to a given dimension. It uses the built-in sorted function, which by default sets a sort order based on the first dimension of a multi-dimensional list. So if you pass a different dimension to sort demi, it will copy that dimension into a new list. Then it will sort it and rebuild the original list. Mini finds the minimum value in a list of floats or integers. Maxi finds the maximum. Purge removes duplicates from a list. Flat takes a list of lists and turns it into a one-dimensional list. List to string concatenates a list into a string. And you can change the separator. Or you can use no separator at all. Pad takes an integer and returns a string of a given width. Split indi splits a string and returns a specific index. So there's the 0th index, which is split by this comma, which corresponds to 1. The second separation, and the third separation. Substring returns a string within a string, and it'll work with any list and not just strings. So it works the same if you just use the built-in colon operator, except with the built-in way of doing it, it's exclusive, as opposed to how this function is written. It works inclusively. It stops at stop rather than before it. Find returns the index of a substring in a string. Dict to lines writes a dictionary to a file so that it can be read later. And there are modules that have a similar function, like pickle, that will probably work better. But this should also work as long as it doesn't have like a typo or something somewhere. Line to dict reads the file back into a dictionary. And here in my example file, I have a little block where I declare a dictionary. I convert the dictionary into a list of strings, and I write those strings to a file. Then I read that file back into a list of lines, and then I convert those lines back into the original dictionary. So you end up with the same dictionary that you declared there, so you can use it to store and recall values from a dictionary. Dict to var reads, or it converts each key value pair of a dictionary to a line of text to be used for Python expressions that are read as text. Escape adds escaped characters to double quotes so that they're not interpreted as the end of a Python expression. Script to string reads a Python file and converts it to text so that it can be used for a Python expression. And count is a counter. So here in my example file I have what's basically a base 2 counter, and that's determined by the number 2 in each of the elements of this list. So A starts at 0 and will count up to the end of the list, which is 2 times 2 times 2. And so there you get basically a binary counter. If I increase this, then this middle dimension will count up to 3 instead of 2. So you can set these dimensions to whatever you want to make a different kind of counter, and that can be used to continue the progress of like a looping function, for instance. Or if you just do normal base, then you'll just have just a normal counter. And the rest of these functions are in the wrong library, but random range does what it sounds. It returns a value somewhere between the minimum and the maximum of the given. And common denominator, or DenoCom, it finds the common denominator if you give it a list of integers. And that's pretty much it. So thanks for watching.